What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you have battened down the hatches and you are ready for an emergency live show. It is Thursday, August 28th, 2025. And our pets' heads are falling off. If you like what I'm doing here, got daily videos for you on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Like the video, subscribe. You can also check me out. I'm on any level of social media. I promise you, wherever you are, I'm there talking about this, just infection that plagues us all, which is being a Dallas Cowboys fan. Just search for RJ Ochoa, I promise. X, Instagram, Threads. I'm all over the place. Twitter, Instagram, I'm there like every second of every day, basically. So if you're there, we can hang out. I promise you. Like my Facebook page, whatever else you want to do. Okay, we're here for one reason and one reason alone, and that is because the Micah Parsons situation on Thursday took a bit of a turn. I had some plans today, had some things I wanted to do, and I got to do them Thursday evening because, again, we're all infected here. But there has been a significant development in the saga is probably the best way to put it. So let's put this up on your screen and then we'll kind of unpack it. This is a report from ESPN, the worldwide leader. Sources: Cowboys appear open to Micah Parsons trade offers. If you've been on the internet on any level over the last few whatevers. You are likely aware of internet rumors that have surfaced connecting the Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers with regards to potential, again, rumored offers for Micah, rumored contractual offers, et cetera, et cetera. It was reported on Wednesday that the Packers have interest, but in a everyone has interest in everyone sort of way. This is the significant development, what came out on Thursday. This is the opening lines, or these are the opening lines from, this got all the bylines, by the way, at ESPN. This report coming to us from Todd Archer, Adam Schefter, and Dan Graziano. So this was the creme de la creme. Several teams have spoken to the Dallas Cowboys. This is more than just the Packers, if you consider them to be a real threat here. Several teams have spoken to the Dallas Cowboys about a potential Micah Parsons trade, and for the first time, the Cowboys appear willing to at least listen. I'm going to highlight this again. For the first time, the Cowboys appear willing to at least listen. In case you are out there saying, this isn't news, why are you guys talking about it? This is why it's news, because for the first time, the Cowboys, everyone's saying, we'll trade, we'll do this. And for the very first time, the Cowboys are going, say that again? That's the development. That's why we're having this conversation here, according to multiple sources, of course. Let's go through this because there's a lot to unpack, and I want to make sure we just kind of understand everything in the report. No trade is imminent, but another team always could be aggressive enough to make it come together, blah, blah, blah. Cowboys would like to resolve the situation one way or another in the coming days with their season opener next Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles. I see you, Fadaz Leon, in the chat saying, gotta love all of this. We play football in a week, and most have little expectations for us to win, and 30 other teams are praying for our downfall, and we can't get exciting thanks Micah stuff. All right, back to the report, and then we'll get to all your comments. When Parsons issued his trade request on August the 1st, tomorrow, Friday, marks 4 weeks since the trade request. Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones said the team would not trade him. Jones believes the Cowboys, blah, blah. We're not going to read this whole thing word for word, but this all does matter for the conversation we're about to have here. But the Cowboys would like clarity to this drama soon. What a sentence. The Cowboys would like clarity to some drama that they helped start. Guys, this fire that we totally set the kindling for and lit the gasoline under, we need help putting it out. But the Cowboys would like clarity to this drama soon, however that comes. Based on conversations with multiple sources, again, this is ESPN here, it appears there's still several ways. So these are the potential outcomes here. I agree with you, Karam says this has gone on way too far. These are the potential outcomes as listed by Schefter, Archer, and Graziano. 1, Parsons could decide to play on his current contract, which has 1 year left, with the Cowboys having the ability to use their franchise tag on him after the season. As many people have noted, the Cowboys could also tag him at obviously a larger rate in 2027. Number 2, Parsons and the Cowboys could resurrect. That's where we're at here, that we have to use words like resurrect. Talks and reach agreement on a long-term deal. That's obviously what I think we've all thought was going to happen for a very long time, but it stands to reason that I think we're singing a bit of a different song. Number 3, Parsons could continue to sit out, citing a back injury and the back tightness that has prevented him from practicing throughout training camp. I promise we're going to unpack all these things. I just want to get this out in front. Finally, or Parsons could be traded, which sources believe seems to have become a stronger possibility in recent days than it has been at any point during this process. There are said to be multiple suitors, though it's unclear whether Dallas ultimately would be willing to deal Parsons. And then Adam, or I should say all of the crew, add that it's unclear whether or not David Mulugheta has been granted permission to talk to other teams, which is a requirement because Micah is under contract, which is a point that a lot of you like to obviously acknowledge. This just kind of rehashes how we got here a little bit here. This is the last part that's relevant, and then we'll take this off the screen. According to multiple sources, and we talked about this, had a video that went out about this on Wednesday, about Micah being on a plane, going to see a doctor to get a second opinion on the back issue. According to multiple sources, Parsons is seeking a second opinion with Dr. Robert Watkins IV for back tightness that he said has bothered him going back to June when he did not participate in the mandatory minicamp. After undergoing a second MRI last Friday, that's obviously within the Cowboys, understandings, the Cowboys have cleared Parsons medically to practice, according to Schottenheimer. This would suggest that the Cowboys believe that there's no reason that Micah shouldn't be practicing. That's where we are, or how we got where we got. There are a lot of people, a lot of fantastic journalists and content creators doing lots of this is the 18-month saga of how we got here. All of that matters, but the TLDR is that the contract hasn't happened, and the moment it came time for Micah to have to do something, this is a general purview of what it is. I promise I am in no way accusing anybody of anything. A back injury came up, and I use air quotes because some people believe it to obviously not be a real thing, but the back injury allows Micah to not participate, and that's why he's seeking the second opinion, seemingly to corroborate how he feels, whether that's legitimate, if he's legitimately dealing with a back issue, obviously, if we're in, accepting that all possibilities are possible here, or to corroborate the story so that he can continue to not participate, but also continue to accrue time necessary for his contract to toll this year. All right, let's get back to the chat. Bill says, well, they should always be willing to listen. I mean, you never know what kind of deal you're going to get. I agree with this in a general sense. Big D says, our pets' heads are falling off is a great opener. Just use that in a work setting this week. I hope you didn't, Big D, because if you had to use that in a work setting, it sounds like something terrible happened. I hope all is well. Mr. Stats 562 says Micah will be on the practice field tomorrow. Speaking it into existence. I like the manifestation happening here. XIM says, I guarantee you second opinion comes back with something and he sits out. That would seemingly be, not to be rude to you, XIM, the literal point. That would, again, be with the obvious intention behind Micah seeking out the second opinion. Big D says, add up all the pieces and it seems like an orchestrated negotiation through the media. Is David Mulugheta pulling the strings? Okay. Making sure I'm not missing anything on Twitter. We're all good. So here's how we got here. Here's the 90-second recap, if I can offer it, with Micah Parsons. He first became eligible for a contract extension in March of 2024. The Cowboys dragged that out because they had been dragging out Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. They wasted all of last year getting that done. And in March of 2025, when it made sense to start this whole thing, the Cowboys were like, nah, we're good, bro. They delayed. Potential alleged informal conversation between Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons, where they allegedly struck a deal, blah, 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 blah. Whatever you believe did or did not happen, we are here in late August with no deal done. And now Micah Parsons either has to play or sit out, but doing the latter would require him to pay some fines. He obviously doesn't want to do that, but he obviously wants a contract. So this is all alleged and speculated and part of a conspiracy theory. Micah has a back issue that has been preventing him from being a part of the things that he would be potentially risking his health in, and he doesn't want to do that while not having a contract extension obviously taken care of. So we're stuck in this just vortex of clusterness that everybody hates, and now we're at a point where the season begins in a week and it's time for someone to make a decision, but neither one of these parties want to make a decision. So now the Cowboys, seemingly, again, all alleged, all perceived, all hypothetical conspiracy concoctions of theories, the Cowboys seem willing to say, hey, Mike, remember that trade request you had back on August the 1st? We're willing to listen. How does that make you feel that we are listening? That seems to be where we're at this moment in time, that the Cowboys have returned serve and said, all right, we're definitely willing to listen to some other teams. We're not going to do anything about it, but we're totally willing to listen. We're serious here. Believe us. I think that was 90 seconds. I really have no idea. It could have been more. It could have been less. But that is kind of where we're at. Westside, I see your comment. It's a family show, so not going to put it on the screen. You're noting that Jerry is an idiot. Now, I have been very, 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 very purely anti-Jerry, purely anti-front office for a very long time now, and done so in what I believe are substantiated ways. I try to give the Cowboys front office their flowers, their kudos when I believe they earn them. Right now, I think it's fair to say that everybody is at least a little bit wrong. Everybody holds some blame. You don't get to this exact situation with just one party being completely and totally wrong. And that's why the theory that this was always for attention never like made total logical sense. Not that anything makes logical sense, to be clear here, but the theory that the Cowboys were doing this for attention, I feel like is completely dead and gone at this point. Now it's at a place where lots of, inside reporters, lots of people close to the situation are saying this is personal, this is different, this is, deeper than all that type of stuff. I buy all of that. And I buy that there is fault to place at every single party's feet here. Now we can divvy up the fault, and I still ultimately think that the majority of fault falls at the feet of the Dallas Cowboys because Micah has been eligible for an extension dating all the way back to March of last year. But right now it's at a place where everybody has some blame to put on their shoulders here, and nobody seems willing or able or capable, or again, willing might be the better word there, to take ownership of it. Everybody wants to say, no, it's that person's fault. That person has to fold. That person has to, just accept this as a loss. We're going to get exactly what we want here. Oh, by the by, the season starts in a week. Kirk Barber says, just resolve this. I completely agree with you because, again, the season starts a week from now. Why would you want to be in this situation? Why would you invite this? Why would you want to be stuck here? Do you think the Eagles have any kind of fraction of a situation like this? The Giants are the team who the Cowboys play in 2 weeks. And, I mean, they've got like kumbayas going on between Jackson Dart and Jameis Winston. So the vibes are very, very, very poor here. And this is not conducive to success for anyone who's involved, whether that's Micah, Brian Schottenheimer, Dak Prescott, on and on and on and on. Westside says, by the west side of Corpus Christi, my dad's a Moody Trojan. My whole family's from the Corpus Christi, Kingsville area. So shout out to the 361. You said better get 3 first-rounders for Micah. I think that any trade offer would have to kind of start there, right? I think that the Cowboys would have to get a significant thing back in return. And I think we're at the place now. I consider it my job, quite literally, to have a read on the fan base, a pulse of the fan base, et cetera, et cetera. And you can tell me if you're wrong, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching after the fact, whatever. I think that a month ago, on August the 1st, when Micah, this is exactly how, this is my read on the situation. I think on August the 1st, when Micah issued the trade request, I think 95% of Cowboys fans are like, this is so dumb. The Cowboys are being ridiculously dumb. Micah's just trying to posture himself, weaponize the situation, just trying to get his. And we can decipher what happened along the way. But I think now, if we call it the 95% that was in Micah Parsons' camp, I fully believe that has withered. I have said for a long time that the court of public opinion has been behind Micah Parsons, and I believe the majority of it still is. But I think that 95% is down to like 80 to 85%. I don't know if it's Jerry Jones's comments to Michael Irvin or Jerry Jones's comments to Stephen A, or people getting hypnotized by the documentary, or just a battle of attrition, or the fact that we're close to the season actually starting and people are ready to root for the Dallas Cowboys. But whatever the case, for the first time, in my estimation, it kind of feels like Micah and his representation are a little bit on the back foot here, because the Cowboys saying, we're willing to listen to offers, that puts them in a position of power. A lot of people have said for a long time the Cowboys hold a lot of leverage by way of the franchise tags, and I get that objectively. I'm not denying that, but this is leverage in the moment. This is leverage in the like circle where we're all watching these two diss each other. And for the longest time, Micah had been the one issuing out the disses, and we were all like, oh! And right now, the Cowboys just say, we're willing to listen to some offers. And I don't know that we're quite at that level, but we're like, damn, like it's getting a little serious here. And we hadn't seen the Cowboys issue a little bit of a burn, and they did on Thursday when they revealed that they were willing to listen to some trade offers. Davis says, I blame the Cowboys for, okay, well, that's a whole different conversation, David. King James says, being a Cowboys fan is not for the weak. Hell no. That's why I always say, like, anyone who thinks that we're a bunch of bandwagon people, like, who would want this? Who would sign up for this? Who would choose this over anything else? We're all here because someone dragged us into it at the beginning of our lives, and we were young and naive enough to see all the Super Bowls and think, like, that's how it's going to be forever and ever. And we've been stuck here in this vortex forever, ever since. It's pretty horrible. Fatherish Figure says, this is petty level 1 million from both sides. Unfortunately, has become par for the course with JR running the ship. It's totally petty. Like, there is pettiness everywhere here. Nobody is being completely mature at this point. I think that's fair to say. And I fully, understand if someone is mad at the Cowboys. I fully understand if someone is mad at Micah. I fully understand if someone is mad at Micah's representation. Again, I think that everyone has some fault to take here. You would think and certainly hope that at some point somebody would say, we have flown way too close to the sun, whether that's Micah and his representation saying, like, we tried to do this, let's just dial back and call it a day and be satisfied? Or you would think the Cowboys would say, we're making this way too complicated. Let's just pay him what he's worth. He's the best player on our team. Let's not do this. Let's not continue the drama, perpetuate it all, and make life difficult for Shadi and Dak and CD and George and everybody else. But no, and that's what I think feels kind of horrible here. Horrible about this is like, how does it end? I mean, I don't have any idea. Do you have any idea? Like, I truly don't. I thought forever, and that sounds big, but I thought forever that this was always going to end with whatever drama was going to come along the way with Micah getting his extension from the Cowboys. And that is still very possible, to be clear. But I think that I have reached a point where I think the most likely outcome, and I think that like only like 51% of me is here, like just the slightest majority possible, is that he's traded. I mean, this has gone on way too long, and it might not be a trade until the offseason, but I think that the most likely outcome of all of this is that somehow, some way, Micah is a part of this team in 2025, and that in 2026 they tag him and trade him or whatever, blah, 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 and they just kind of kick the can down the road and deal with the problem then while having him play on the final year of his rookie contract here in 2025. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's just reacting to the moment, but I legitimately am at a point where I think that that is the most likely outcome at this exact moment in time. And how could it not be, with the Cowboys reportedly being willing to listen to trade offers? Let's see. John says, is this just Jerry wanting more airtime? Let me be very clear here. It can always be that. Like, I like, let's not be naive enough to be like, I don't know. Like, it can always be that is always on the table. But I think this is serious enough that, I mean, like, I don't know how. I mean, like, I'm kind of willing to believe it's a little bit more than that, is my point. Like, I'm with you. I thought the same thing. I still think the same thing in a lot of respects, but too much has happened for me to say that's the most likely thing. I think it's very fair to believe, based on everything that has happened, based on all of how we've gotten here, that it's more than just wanting airtime, wanting attention, promoting the Netflix doc, that it's a little bit of, legitimately being pissed off. Anthony says, me kicking 12-year-old self picking the Cowboys to root for many moons ago. We are all the scene in Interstellar every single time. John says, honestly, I hope the Cowboys trade Parsons. The insanity of this would maybe be enough to get Jerry out. I think that there's a point, and I'm not going to put it on the screen here, but there was a tweet that Jess Haney, who's one of our staffers at Blogging the Boys, had, and I'm paraphrasing here. Jess said, Jerry, we all believe that Jerry desperately wants to win a Super Bowl and prove he can do it and blah, blah, blah. Trading Micah would legitimately, involve hanging some onion, right? Like, trading Micah would prove, like, I believe I see something that you all don't. Because right now, like, if I know some of you are fed up with Micah and some of you want Micah to be traded, but right now we would say, like, that's a dumb idea. Don't trade Micah Parsons. He's too good of a player. Jerry might say, okay, well, I'm going to do the thing that you all think that is dumb, and I'm going to be right, and you're all going to have to tell me that I was right and you were wrong. Let's see here. This is an article from Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Let me put this up here. This just came out, so I'm going to put this on your screen and read it in real time as my dog barks in the background. Apologies for that. It's water day around here. So share screen. Let's do this. So this is Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. I'm just now reading this for the first time, but I trust Nick, obviously. So here we go. The Dallas Cowboys are listening to trade offers for their 4-time All-Pro, blah, blah. Not blah, blah, Nick Rules. Go subscribe to his and John Owning's YouTube channel. A rumored offer by the Green Bay Packers that has made the round on social media has not been directly confirmed by a person, etc. This was Brian Gutekunst addressing the situation. For the Cowboys to engage in a trade, that would deal that the deal would have to not only include substantial draft capital, but also a player who can immediately contribute, according to a team source. This is important. Let me zoom in. I just recognize that you kind of can't see all that. So here we go. This is Nick Harris in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. For the Cowboys to engage in a trade, the deal would have to not only include substantial draft capital, but also a player who can immediately contribute, according to a team source. The Cowboys will report to practice Friday to begin preparations for their week 1 matchup. Like, the fact that these two paragraphs are next to each other is just absurd that we have reached that point with the Cowboys here. So I'll ask you, however you're watching, wherever you're watching, what would it take? Even if you are completely and totally against the idea of trading Micah Parsons, there are obviously a lot of people who now are all of a sudden down to do it. What would it take? I think it would absolutely have to involve multiple first-round picks, multiple second-round draft picks. I agree, obviously, with the report from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram that getting a significant contributor back in return could help. But I think the issue with that, and the Cowboys don't really do this, is that it would involve some sort of public declaration of, yeah, we know we can't win the Super Bowl this year. And some of that is narrative-driven. Some of that is performative. Some of that is, grandstanding and not really based in reality or based in anything objective or measurable. But the Cowboys do not do that. The Cowboys are not a team that throw their hands up in the air and say, we're not competing anymore. Just think about last year when the season was fully and totally lost and they insisted on playing Cooper Rush instead of playing Trey Lance for the last 5 or 6 games to be able to see what he could do. This is not a team that gives up, or that at least shows the world that they give up. This is a team that drags that situation on all the way till the very end. Let's see here. D Block says, I think you're saying, come on, this season is just about over. Fatherish Figure says, I want 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a running back. King James says, I don't trust the front office to do anything significant with the picks anyway. Like, that's, I know that you say that, and I think sometimes the Will McClay love is a bit overdone and a bit boosted. I think that Will McClay's awesome, but we act like he has absolutely no misses relative to his time, in charge of the draft process for the Cowboys. But I wouldn't trust any general manager, to be clear. I wouldn't trust anybody. Like, who you would hope to draft with those picks? I don't know, Micah Parsons. Like, it would be awesome if you drafted Micah Parsons with those picks. And that's clearly what some other team around the NFL would be feeling if they decided to make the offer that the Cowboys would reportedly be willing to listen to. Zam DFW says, everyone is falling into Jerry's trap of monopolizing the airwaves before the season starts. He has to keep making it more dramatic each year so people just don't dismiss it. Like, maybe this is me falling into the trap. Maybe I'm about to be part of the problem, but I do not believe that this is just trying to suck up all the oxygen in the room. I legitimately buy that the Cowboys are willing to listen to trade offers. Now, what I'll say to that is they might be willing to listen to trade offers because they're that petty, because they are that dug in on whatever the offer was in the informal conversation between Jerry and Micah. They might be that dug in, that petty, in saying, you're either going to take this offer or we're going to trade you. We are that unwilling to negotiate, which I think is kind of evidenced by the fact that they haven't even spoken to the agent based on literally all reports at this point. So I do kind of buy that it's not attention and that it's actually legitimate from them, which I never thought I would say, but I also never thought that we'd get to this point with the whole Micah Parsons situation. Let's see here. Tiga says Micah Parsons will lose financially if he leaves Dallas. I mean, like I just used the word petty. Like, all of this depends how dug in Micah is, how dug in the Cowboys are. Like, who is willing to prove their point and to do it more than the other, right? Like, is Micah willing to prove his point so much that he is willing to be traded? I know a lot of people are responding to this whole phenomenon and saying, like, this isn't a big deal at all. Micah requested to be traded. So why is it a big deal that the Cowboys are willing to listen to trade offers? I think it's a big deal because I think we all thought that Micah was, playing the game when he requested to be traded. And maybe this is the Cowboys playing the game back, but playing the game this close to the season starting is reckless and dangerous and dumb and stupid and helps nobody and only serves to hurt your team and help your opposition. And that's why we're all so frustrated here. But I mean, if Micah and his representation are truly committed to go in the distance, then, I mean, he might not care if he loses financially. He might view it as a financial gain in some respects. It is a difficult thing to evaluate and quantify because we don't know how Micah Parsons is feeling. Let's see here. True Love says, regardless of who's right, I'm tired of Jerry waiting last minute and doing stuff the hard way. This is ultimately the most important point. Look, I know some of you are now team trade Micah. I know some of you are team front office stinks. There are a lot of us with a lot of different opinions, and Micah may wind up traded. Micah may wind up getting an extension. Micah may play the season out on the final year of his contract and get a new deal next year. There are a number of different possibilities here. However this ends, pick the end result that you want, that you prefer, that you think is the most likely outcome of it all. However it ends, the most important detail is that it happened way too late. This should have been done, whether that's an extension or trading him or whatevering. This should have been done not in March of this year, but in March of last year. A forward-thinking front office with a forward-thinking disposition would not have let the situation fester and fester and fester and fester to the point that, holy crap, the water's boiling on the stove. I didn't know that was going to happen. We all knew it was going to happen. So whatever you do, even if you trade him, even if you get a king's ransom, you already did that in an inefficient manner. And that's the most important point. Stop doing this. Stop being on your back foot. Start thinking ahead, whether that's trading the best player on the team, whether that's getting an extension done with him. Stop reacting to things. And finally, for the first time in forever, shout out, of course, to Frozen, do something that shows you have a modicum of a plan, because we know that you do not. ego is for the enemy is what Fatherish Figure says. I agree. Fatherish Figure says Jerry is wasting Dak and CD just like he wasted Tony and Dez. Karam says Jerry wait until the last minute to do things. It's insane. It is insane. And people say things like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Again, I will wrap with this. Like people say all the time, and I used to say, people say like, oh, they're so bad at this. They're so, incompetent. Like, do you recognize? And I'm not saying what I'm about to say lightly, but to say that this front office is bad or is incompetent is actually, thinking more highly of them, right? Because I would respect them more if they truly were this incompetent, but nobody is this incompetent. None of us are this incompetent because we have access to the internet. Nobody who understands the way contract extensions work or anything like this in the NFL works. Nobody believes that this is a sound way to go about this. So incompetence would be the preferred option at this point in time. The reality of the situation is it is the way it is for reasons. That's it. And that's a really frustrating thing. I hate the expression, it is what it is, but that's what it is. The Cowboys operate the way they operate, not because they're planning this or they're secretly tanking or they're whatever. It's just because it's today and we feel like acting this way today. And if we feel like acting some way tomorrow, and if it directly opposes the way we acted today, so what? We own the team. We'll say whatever we want. You can completely and totally, rightfully, objectively call us on it, and we don't even have to answer to it. We're just going to do it that way. And if we feel like doing it a different way the day after that, or 6 months from now, 24/7, 365, the way Stephen Jones tells us roster construction is as a business in the NFL, we will do and say and sing and dance however we want because we are in charge. Let's see here. RV Chaser says Jerry Jones will trade Micah Parsons and think it's like the Herschel Walker trade and make the Cowboys a dynasty again. I am already pre-exhausted at how many people are comparing this to the Herschel Walker trade, but I digress. Let's see here. Calvin Watkins, I think, just put it well right now in a tweet, says, I didn't believe we'd get to this point with Parsons and the Cowboys, but here we are on August 28th. First Luca, blah, blah, blah. Look, this is like, I mean, to say this has gone on long enough is like, duh. This is absurd. I mean, so again, even if this ends with, even if the Cowboys do trade Micah, and even if they get a haul that we all agree was a haul, it will still have been done in not the most efficient way possible. Even if the Cowboys get a 100% approval rating on however this whole saga ends, it will still have been done in a very illogical, not forward-thinking, not caring for the proper goals of the football organization manner. And that remains the biggest issue with this team, our biggest gripe, and objectively the most fair, complete, absolutely on-point criticism of this team, not just now, not just last year, not for the last 30 years, but for way longer than should have been allowable. Okay, so West Side of Corpus Christi says Micah is the heart and soul of the defense. I agree with you. I had plans. I had plans for today. I really did. Now I got to do them later. You know what that's like? When you're like, I'm going to do this today and this afternoon and blah, blah. And then poof, there go my plans. So now, you know what I'm going to have to do later? I'm going to have to eat a big old bowl of ice cream and do my stuff that I was planning on doing today. So thanks, Cowboys, for that. It's going to be awesome. I'm being a little bit facetious. It's going to be fine. But I hope whatever you're doing, I hope that it's wonderful and that you succeeded it because you are a beautiful person in every single way. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on any kind of social media, RJ Ochoa, X, Instagram, and Threads, RJ.Ochoa on TikTok, like my Facebook page. Speaking of liking, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, daily videos, live shows, all sorts of fun stuff, live Dallas Cowboys postgame shows, right here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. It's football season. Even though we hate this team, it's all going to be okay. It probably won't be, but it's going to be entertaining because that's how they want it. Thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out. We will see you next time, and I hope you get some ice cream as well because you deserve it. See you next time, guys. Actually, that was an awkward way to say it. We'll see you next time, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you on Friday. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow.